2024 is the year of taking down the predators, and one of the biggest predators on the internet is finally being held accountable. Well, kind of, sort of. What's going on, everybody? So we know about the whole Logan Paul and George Janko situation from a couple of weeks ago, where George Janko broke off of Logan Paul's podcast and goes on his own podcast to tell the reasons why. Now, one of the biggest reasons for him leaving the Logan Paul podcast, which is because of the actions that comedian, actor, or whoever Bobby Lee even is, did on the pod, and Logan did nothing to defend him.
You want to smell my dick?
One of us in this room will.
Yeah, smell my dick, because I have no cologne here, but I spray the fuck on my dick. Smell this part. No, smell. You got to smell it.
I just waft it, bro.
Dude.
Just waft.
Dude, this is not gay. It's podcasting. It's for entertainment.
It's material.
And in improv, you never disagree.
Now, how somebody like Logan Paul can do no sort of defending of his friend George Janko in those situations is beyond me. Literally watching somebody get essayed in front of your eyes should make you want to stand up and fight, especially your friend. Like, literally no way of excusing that, and even Logan Paul can admit that. Now, while we would think that that's a one-off incident, somebody doing that in public means that they have a history of that type of behavior.
Bobby freaking Lee!
Who's Bobby Lee?
You.
Oh, that's me. Yay!
Yes, that was awesome. Kiss Lisa before you go.
Bye-bye, Lisa.
Bye-bye.
Now, those might have not been the most aggressive ones like the George Janko situation, but it's clear that Bobby Lee has a history and a past of making people feel uncomfortable in a lot of different situations. He even has a full-on 10-minute compilation of him doing uncomfortable things or making people uncomfortable on YouTube, which, if you can put together 10 minutes of something, then you know that there's good evidence that you are probably a creeper.
That animal in Chicago, the grizzly animal.
In Chicago?
Yeah, your mom.
Now, I'm never a person that subscribes to, if you're a comedian, then all things fall under the umbrella of comedy. There are definitely times where you can push the boundaries. So why we think that this stuff is okay and we could just sweep it under the rug of, oh, it's comedy, it's comedy, it's comedy. Well, really it's not. That doesn't give you an excuse to, say whatever you want, but more specifically, do whatever you want, because the physical aspect of the stuff that Bobby Lee was doing was really SA, like not even borderline, but real life, private parts being grabbed, caressing people's back. This is stuff that would get you a lawsuit if he wasn't a comedian or whatever the case may be. So why in the entertainment industry you feel like this is okay, I have no idea, but it should not go without being talked about. And so I'm glad that George Janko, the man that he is, was able to bring him on his podcast and confront him about the situation that happened on the Logan Paul podcast. So listen to this apology that Bobby Lee gives, to George Janko, or this explanation.
We'll talk about other things, but I want to open up by saying that I'm sorry. I usually do podcasts in my ecosystem, right? So it's like, I know the rhythms and I know what I can and can't say. People are pretty open to, they know who I am, right? But with you guys, I didn't know, so I came, and also it's a huge platform. So I was like super nervous. So, I tend to get bullyish and out of survival.
Every time that there's an internet apology, you have to dissect if there's any reality or truth to it, or if they're just saying stuff just to say stuff because it'll make people feel better. I'm not gonna act like Impulsive isn't a big platform. It has 4.5 million subscribers. But Bobby Lee, your platform on YouTube has about 2 million subscribers. 1.5, we're rounding. So let's not act like this huge platform is what got you nervous. I also find it interesting that you said, hey, I wasn't in my element. Your element is a place that's okay with people essaying each other just left, right, and sideways on the platform, on the casting couch. And why is your go-to when you get nervous to essay somebody in their personal space? And we can't say that this is a one-off, because again, there's a full 10-minute compilation of you doing things like this on other people's platforms. You literally can't justify putting your meat in somebody's face as a form of nervousness on a larger platform.
Number one, I do so many podcasts, I don't even remember what I said or did or didn't do. Secondly, when you walked off the set, I literally was confused by it. I don't know the drama behind the podcast. And the third thing is that, and I truly don't remember, and it is on brand, but I don't remember ever trying to touch you. If I did that, I literally don't remember, but if I did that, I'm sorry. I do it for comedy.
He's only digging a deeper hole for himself by saying, I didn't even know what I did or was doing. It's almost like your nature is to bully or whatever the case may be. And again, I know that there's different levels of what we would call comedy, but we're not talking about comedy anymore. We're talking about assaulting people. We are talking about harassing people in a sexual manner. You're grabbing people's body parts. You're putting your body parts in front of other people. If that's your nature to do these things to where it's like, oh, I didn't even remember, it's unconscious behavior. And that's not something that we should be platforming for a bunch of people to see on a day-to-day basis. I don't care how mature your brain is. That's not something you should be normalizing. Second nature is breathing air. I don't think about breathing air. I don't think about blinking. I don't think about, licking my lips because they're dry. Your second nature, something that you do unconsciously, is harassing people and assaulting people. What kind of world is that okay? And again, here we go with the namesake of, oh, it's all comedy. Everything isn't funny. And even if it's funny to you, you should probably be on different behaviors. If you had the opportunity, and mind you, some people need to know what house they're going to, but when you're going to someone else's house, if they came on the Bobby Lee podcast, that might be one thing. But you going to their platform, if that's not something that flies, that's not something that flies. Why would you go on CNN or Fox or wherever, or a church or wherever, and interview a pastor or the president or whatever political person and do the same exact thing? That shouldn't be your nature. I don't care if people say, well, they should have known who Bobby Lee was. We're not expecting people to sexually assault people.
I just apologize. It's like,
Thank you, bro.
I'm sorry.
All joking aside,
Seriously.
for real, I really appreciate that. Can I tell you what really, really hurt me though? I ain't Ringo, bro. Do you know what I'm talking about or not?
No, but with you, you mean with you?
You called me Ringo.
I know. So who are you, George Harrison in that?
I'm George Janko.
Okay, you're Georgienko.
It is pretty big for George to bring somebody on who literally assaulted him on a podcast, on a public platform for everyone to consume. He's a bigger man than me because I would want to have no words with him, but apparently George said he wasn't bothered by things of that nature that happened on the podcast. It was more about his friends not backing him up.
I never had a problem with Bobby Lee.
No, he knows
I
that.
had a problem with the way that Logan and you were kind of gassing him to keep doing. He started the episode putting his balls in my face.
Now, personally, me, I would be offended if there was a twig and two berries in front of my face, but that's just me. I'm a different type of dude, apparently.
I've gotten a lot of DMs saying that if you try to grab me, I'd fucking break your wrists, which I don't even remember doing. And I was like, kind of, I didn't even know what the fuck. And I asked my assistant to look it up, and she's like, I didn't see that. You know what I mean? And I was just like, oh.
I was gonna go into this whole like retaliation, but I do have receipts and I have the clip as well. That wasn't my whole like.
Let's move on from that. If I did, I did. I'm sorry. I
because
do it to make
people are
people
questioning
uncomfortable
it.
and make it be funny.
But see, this is why he's not only just some jackass comedian. To me, he is a complete and utter abuser. He is somebody who has no accountability for his actions and really should be held his feet to the fire more often than not. Because even when presented with those types of evidences, if I did it, I did it, it is what it is. It's being literally put in front of your face, right in front of you. Like, you have the visual evidence of what's being done right there. And you can sit in front of the person's face who had it happen to you, who talked about it on his platform. I don't know what else Bobby Lee needs to make some sort of acknowledgement, some real heartfelt apology. But that's why I don't give a lot of slack to these comedians who come off with that bullshit. It's not in the name of jokes. You keep referencing that. You are a bad person. And I'm glad that towards the end of the interview, George finally gets into you.
From now on, I probably, the one thing, I probably would not start a podcast with a girlfriend. I think that's what I learned from the last
started
one.
with my fiance. Everybody's like, don't do it, bro.
Don't do you did it?
Yeah.
Where is she?
You want to know the truth?
Yeah.
I didn't want her to sit on this episode.
Where is she?
That's just me being honest with you.
Why?
Well, quite frankly, I was very scared of you. I didn't know which direction you were going to take this, and I didn't want my poor fiance to get just destroyed. You're comedically way better than me.
That's not true at all, dude.
Bro, I showed you a picture of her, and you said she wouldn't be with you unless you were where you're at. And I was like, that's true. It's true.
It's a fucking joke.
Bro,
you gotta grow another pair of balls, man.
It would have hurt a lot more if you said it right.
Now, they both align with some things that I just wouldn't necessarily say. If you don't feel comfortable enough to have her there, I guess if you wanted to get this banger off, or if you wanted to get the real apology from Bobby Lee, then maybe that's the case. But when people are feeling uncomfortable about you being there and how having other women around would, affect things, you just got to take a hint at that point. Not only are you scaring the hoes, but you're a literal criminal. I hate the idea that stuff is being, close cloaked under the veil of comedy when it comes to these overly offensive comedians who at this point are actually doing criminal activities, like stuff that would get them hemmed up in some sort of lawsuit. After a weak ass apology on the internet, we're just supposed to forgive all. No, I truly do hate that stuff. And I hope that people don't bring Bobby Lee on their platforms anymore. If you decide to go over there with what he's got going on, that's fine, I guess. That still doesn't give him the right to put his hands on you, but you sign up for what you sign up for. Let me know what you guys think about this weak Bobby Lee apology. And is everything okay if it's under the veil of comedy? Like, I'm not with that at all.